Good morning and welcome to the virtual worship service for Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Susan Selbe and I'm presenting this service today along with my daughter Stephanie Katz, joining us from Tasmania. Lay-led worship is a long-standing tradition at A2U2 and most of our services for the summer will be lay-led. In the fall, our new minister, Reverend Donna Dolham, will lead most of our services. This week, our offering will be shared with the Furniture Friends. This group collects and delivers gently used furniture to refugees and recently homeless folks. If you'd like to contribute to the offering, you can go to our website and use the donate button at the top of the page. Choose the option to give to the plate. You can also send a check to the church. And finally, please join our virtual coffee hour at 10:45 this morning. The link for that meeting is on the website. And now I'm going to light the chalice. If you can make peace with the unlikely fact that squid, the size of school buses, patrol the dark oceans at a depth that would crush you to paste, then I have faith you can also make peace with the unlikely fact that you are worthy of all the happiness you can imagine. That paragraph was from a podcast I listened to a couple of months ago by the crypto naturalist called Pep Talk. It knocked my socks off. I shared it with my daughter and she had the same reaction. Although we had wanted to personalize this service much more, as it turned out, the words of author Jared Anderson could not be improved upon. So we will read here his words with his permission. But first, I'd like to introduce my daughter, Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. I probably have met some of you before because I've attended services in the past, but I'm joining you from Tasmania, Australia. And but before we started the reading from Jared, I thought it would be nice if my mom and I talked a little bit about why this piece was so special to us and why we wanted to share it with you. So, Mom, can you tell me a little bit about when you first heard this podcast and what it made you think about and why it was that you decided that you wanted to turn it into a service together?
Well, yes. I first heard this early on in the virus pandemic, early in the quarantine that we all lived through. At the time, I think most people thought that the quarantine would be for a limited time, or the self-distancing and all that. I have a medical background, and I realized very early on this was not going to be a short-term situation. Pep Talk is addressing our feelings during this pandemic, and I found it to be so magical and uplifting that I really just wanted to share it with you. How about you? How did you react?
Well, I remember when receiving it from you, and I'm pretty sure that I must have just started listening to. Oftentimes, when you and I exchange messages, it happened because of the time difference. I'll get messages from you in the morning, and I'm pretty sure I listened to it like right when I woke up one morning in bed, and I'm pretty sure it was just around the time that things were starting to change in Tasmania as well. We were on a little bit of a lag behind other parts of the world because we're an island off of an island. And it was a time of obviously great uncertainty. It was a 2-week period where I think just there was so much rapid change. Every day things were changing. And I started listening and just tears streamed down my cheeks. Obviously, it was a really emotional time. But I think it was so powerful to me because it was such a welcome reminder of, I guess, my own feelings about the universe and life, and my own values. Um, and additionally, I guess through this time, one of the hardest things has been obviously you and I having to be apart for much longer than we ever expected. And we have been trying to find ways of staying connected across the planet, and kind of like new and creative ways of feeling together. And one of those ways is through sharing things that are meaningful to us. And I guess that's another part of the reason that it was such a profound piece for me, is because you shared it with me. And it's a reminder of the values that you and I hold in common. So I guess, yeah.
Well, let me just say one more thing to the congregation. This is a listening experience. I want you to put your listening ears on and listen to all the words. And why don't you go ahead and go first, Stephanie?
Okay, sounds good. Many of us are scared right now, and that's okay. But listen, the first living cell on Earth was a spark. It ignited a chain reaction that thundered across millions of years, an evolving blaze of lives and needs and firsts and lasts. The whole of that raging fire of history and happenstance burns inside you right now. It is beyond amazing that you are here listening to this. You should be impossible. Living is a rebellion, an old conspiracy of elements to organize and oppose the blunt, thoughtless forces of the universe. We climb mountains. We swim against the current. We chip away at the expected. You are rogue matter. Your every active choice raises the flag of resistance. It would be an understatement to call you rare. You are so much more than just rare. The universe is mostly nothing, but there is a tiny percentage of material rebels like you. I don't know where you get the courage to be so unique, but I'm impressed that you choose to be here, possessing a physical body and making active choices in defiance of the norm. You are exceptional. Today, you did things that humans 50 years ago wouldn't believe, and 200 years ago would struggle to imagine. You know the names of planets and the shapes of the bones inside you. You comprehend death and make art. You are a surpassingly strange creature, worthy of praise.
Do you realize what an adventure you are on right now? The dangers that you have already conquered to be here listening to my voice? Do you ever stop to give yourself credit for these achievements? You are many impossible things, incredible things, but you are not safe. Frankly, your birth was reckless. Lightning strikes without reason. Countless simple bodily mishaps may be fatal. To live is to collect risk like a bee collects nectar. But risk is not how we measure success, is it? Your primary goal is not safety. It never was. Instead, concern yourself with becoming the truest version of you. Every part of you is on an unbelievable journey. The conscious and the unconscious. No aspect of your physical or mental being is not extraordinary on a universal scale. You see, the atoms in your body traveled farther than you can imagine. Yet here you are. Most planets don't support life, yet here you are. Life on Earth didn't start on land, and yet here you are. Your genetic map is profoundly rare, yet here you are. Remember all the impossible things you've already accomplished? What impossible thing will you do next? And yet, let us not get too preoccupied with accomplishment, eh? Improvement is an admirable goal, but remember, there is no best version of you. There's only this version, which stands head and shoulders above all the hypothetical versions you can imagine, by virtue of being real and here, in the face of everything you've already overcome.
One incredible aspect of the human mind is our ability to choose to change, to acquire a skill, to alter our thought patterns, to adopt new behaviors. If ever you feel that you've stopped becoming and started simply continuing, remember this wonderful feature of your brain. You control this feature. Frogs, butterflies, jellyfish, their life cycles contain startling shifts in form and behavior. And you? Are you the same person you were 5 years ago? 15 years ago? Time and biology are agents of transformation, but so is knowledge. Leave room for the next version of you. Be a new animal. Be ready to love that new animal. Of course, potatoes existed for millions of years before French fries were invented, so don't be discouraged if you feel like you haven't found your best self yet. Life isn't a game you are trying to win. We just learn to take pleasure in playing it. You might find yourself being afraid to try and seek change or comfort or fulfillment because trying can feel like vulnerability. Here's something I've learned. Effort will not always lead to the result you had in mind, but effort will not betray you. Write the book, make the art, risk the love, strive for wellness. Effort does not make promises, but effort will not betray you. And still, I remind you that you aren't looking to complete yourself. I often remind myself that there is no one thing that will complete my life. I hear so many suggestions that we are all jigsaw puzzles with product-shaped pieces missing. But I find that life feels emptier the more things I collect. Better to leave room for the green and growing, for nature, for wildness. You yourself are a wildness. The average human body has more bacterial cells than human cells. Our DNA is secondhand, shaped by the flora and fauna that tasted the air before our eldest ancestors. Our blood remembers the sea, our hands the treetops. You are the outdoors. You are nature. You need neither products nor achievements to find perfection within yourself.
We may be quarantined, yes, but look around you. Your shelter may have walls, but your home is a boundless wild you share with 9 other million species. I'd argue that those non-human microbial cells within you are still you. You are a crowd within a dynamic sea of staggering scope and diversity. Walls are an illusion. Our blood is mostly water. It uses iron to bind oxygen, which was built using the energy of sunlight. Water, earth, air, fire. You may feel separated from the natural world, but just look at the family resemblance. You are not just born to this place. You are born of this place. Your brain, seat of your consciousness, is as natural as a leaf. It arose in the world the same way as a finch's wing, a cricket's song. Wherever you are right now, the part of you that's awake and hearing this is in nature. Your thoughts echo from ancient wilderness. And still, our complexity is such that we struggle to understand even the most basic aspects of ourselves. This, friends, is wonderful. There's nothing any of us could have done to earn a punishment so cruel or an award so grand as being alive. All of us drawing breath are united in this circumstance of profound, exquisite strangeness. We are ourselves. We are each other. We are the landscape. Over the course of your lifetime, most of the cells that have formed the mosaic of your body have returned to nature. Most of the water that has fueled your life has already returned to nature. The substance of your form is not fixed. It flows like a river to and from the wilderness. You are not metaphorically connected to nature. The connection is real. And now, a song titled Being Brave, written and sung by Stephanie.
Fear is a feeling that lives in your bones. It grows if you let it and drags you down like stones. The only way to get it, to leave you alone, is to close your eyes and call its name and face the unknown. Fear is a warning our bodies sometimes give when our lives are in danger. It helps us to live. It tells us that something might not be what we think it is. It's a product of evolution, and we owe ourselves to it. Fear comes from chemicals produced inside the brain. They travel along pathways, reactions in a chain. They're triggered by emotions we can't always explain. But the ones that get your palms to sweat are the same that make your heart misstep when you think of me and what we haven't done yet. And I know sometimes it's hard to tell these kinds of fears apart. But if your body's safe, well then I say, listen to your heart, because love is a feeling that's stronger than you know. When you let it take over, it helps you let fear go. The more that you share it, the more the feelings grow. It's the power of this thing called love that makes the world go.
Our intelligence, our curiosity. Some say these gifts come with a steep cost, in that we know one day we will die. Yes, one day we will die. And what of that? When you die, your component parts are already home. Your blood's iron goes back to the earth. Your water returns to the cycle of sea and sky. And your thoughts? Your kindnesses? Well, nature does not waste, and the unknowable is as rich and sustaining as dark soil or autumn stargazing. When we die, they may bury us or collect our ashes, but remember this: from baby teeth to skin cells and everything in between, most of the matter that has worn your name is already spread throughout the world. We bury our remains in the soil of our lifetimes, not in the place of our graves. In the end, you were a part of the sky on loan to a body, a part of the sea that awoke to thought, a part of the earth who borrowed a name. The essential piece of you that lingers is the love and knowledge that you set in motion while you moved through the waking world. Sometimes it takes an effort of will to see kindness in nature, to see the magic inside the commonplace. The effort you spend on such things is a gift to yourself and a gift to the world. Remember that the act of interpretation can be a creative act, so choose to create love. I cherish a certainty that there are secrets beneath fallen logs, floating in the bright sky and within my own skin that will not be known in my lifetime. I hear these almost truths chiming like distant music, and I'll walk toward that song with simple gratitude as long as I'm able.
You can look at any human life as the sum of a complex collection of chemical reactions in much the same way as you can look at any beautiful painting as a collection of pigments, which is to say, you can miss the point of most anything. Yes, your life is temporary, the sun is temporary, the universe is temporary. Existence isn't about chiseling stone monuments for the ages. It's more about baking chocolate chip cookies. Lick the mixing spoon and risk a taste hot from the oven. Cookies aren't about forever. They're about sharing sweetness. Kindness, gentleness, empathy. These things are fires shining in the forest night. They must be tended. But in tending them, we are illuminated. We become a target for things that thrive in darkness. So as ever, love is tied to risk, and as ever, it's worth the danger. You are the mountain, but awake. You are the rain, but breathing. You are the forest, but unanchored. You are the soil, but with choice. You are the sunlight, but dreaming. Soon you will be these things again: mountain, rain, forest, sunlight. What will you do until then?
Just as storms illustrate the value of shelter, pondering limitless space helps us appreciate our own limited bodies, the intimacy of touch, the objects within our reach. Our limitations are not a hindrance. They are the warm rooms in which we build the simple pleasures of life. I think life is a thing we borrow, not own. A stolen moment, a cool afternoon swim in a woodland lake. That borrowed water of life is the same for humans and falcons and aphids. The shape of the individual borrower is nothing. It's the water, the lake, the fleeting afternoon. One of the best qualities about the impermanence of everything is that our small moments of happiness can carry the same weight as any cosmic event of unthinkable time and distance. And yet, I know that sometimes There is a wounded animal in you, an animal that has gone too long without shelter, an animal that wishes the world had but one throat to squeeze. Furious, strong, sharp, and tired. I know that today you said no to that animal in your kindest voice. Thank you. Kindness won't make you rich, but it will make you whole. Please take time to acknowledge the monsters you defy, the storms you weather. There are those walking this earth to whom your life would seem an uninhabitable rock jutting from an angry sea. Yet there you are, stringing together days like flowers in your crown. Respect your own vital splendor. You are worthy of respect. Our second musical piece is a traditional folk round, composer unknown. I learned it years ago while singing with the Vermont-based world music chorus called Northern Harmony. I fell in love with the harmonies so much that I had to record it myself just so I could hear them again. And this is that recording.
See the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. See the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I love the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I love the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea. How I love the wind bending the grass like a wave o'er the sea.
When I reach for purpose, I settle on this. Consciousness exists simply to be the doorway through which love enters the universe. This is worth a repeat. When searching for the meaning of life, remember that consciousness, which comes through us, exists to be the doorway through which love enters the universe. I've met folks who like to say love is just chemicals, to which I reply, yeah, so is the churning inferno of the sun, so is the bedrock of the earth, so is the living fountain of a blooming cherry tree. If you need to call upon the word magic to fully appreciate the awesome beauty of all that which is vivid and real, do so. There are many kinds of consciousness, but there is only one kind of life, the kind that is in you, the kind that's in lichens and ferns and oaks and cities of coral dreaming in sun-rich seas. We name things based on differences, but don't fail to love all that we share together. Every life is a sound, the soft susurrus of jellyfish who have never known the shore, the sharp sizzle of deer fleeing through autumn corn. These sounds belong to the same unfinished poem as you and your fistful of years, like copper coins. It wouldn't be poetry without you. Remember, we are all strange animals, so act like it. This concludes Pep Talk in Jared Anderson's words. I wanted to share with you that when the kids were young, I tried to impress upon them how very exceptional they were. Jared's take is the long, profound view, how exceptional we all are in this vast creation. This view makes it possible to see even the most vile human beings as having inherent worth and dignity, because despite their behaviors, they have that miraculous spark of life within them, which itself is worthy of inherent worth and dignity. And now Stephanie has a piece of writing of her own that she will share to close the service.
This is something that I wrote years ago, but I guess the Pep Talk podcast made me think of it and thought that it might be appropriate to share as well. I woke up this morning and immediately I knew I was dead. I knew because all of my physical senses were gone: hearing, touch, smell, taste, and sight. And yet somehow I was still aware of the physical world around me. I began to think back on my life in my body and began to feel wistful, as much as that was possible for a disembodied spirit, as I had apparently become. I could still nearly imagine what it felt like to have a body, something I so recently had taken for granted and even at times resented. Though I could not see, I could remember what it felt like to be able to see, in the same way that upon waking from a dream in which you are sitting next to a long ago best friend, you could still feel the warmth of their closeness. I recall color. It's hard to describe now that it no longer exists for me. I remember noticing color wherever I went: bright colors, muted colors. How to describe color in an existence without sight? Bright colors were like a sudden event, an explosion of energy, frozen in time and flattened onto a surface. Muted colors were like time passing slowly, easily, imbued with the quality of the events it contained. Sage green was like 1,000 years passing in peace without a single planetary collision. Death is a strangely peaceful state. It's so much less frenetic than life. There is no day and night, no emotional waves, no human companionship, no pleasure, no pain. As a human, I would have imagined what I am now experiencing to be lonely or frightening, but it's not. It's not lonely because I'm not alone. Or I am alone, but the rest of the universe is alone with me. So at least we have each other. It's certainly not frightening. What is there to be frightened of? It mostly just is. What I do find strange is the memories. The oddest things keep coming back to me. Just now, I suddenly thought of the hard boiled egg I had for breakfast on my last day. The breath of cool air mixing with the hot summer morning as I opened the refrigerator door. The cold and delicate roundness of the egg. The sound as I tapped the shell with my knife, rhythmically, turning the egg until I made a full circle. The feel of the shell giving way beneath the pressure of my fingers and sliding across the slippery surface of the hardened egg into the bin. All of these come to me now, but incompletely, like the suggestion of a memory or a word on the tip of my tongue that I know is there but cannot recall. I swear that life was real. Even more bizarre are the subtle waves of emotion that keep lapping at me, like an ebb tide, moving slowly out, soon to disappear forever. What are emotions? Though I can still feel in remnants, they are quickly escaping me. I grasp at the most vivid experiences and feel strange nostalgia for what must have been the hardest moments of my life. I'm transported by a memory of being bullied as a child, riding home on the school bus. I see it somehow without seeing. I know it must have been painful, but far from feeling pity or empathy, I am transfixed, even awed, by the fact of emotional experience. The tears, the sighs, the folded body heaving, pressed against the vinyl of the bench seat. Emotions must be powerful to control the physical world in this way, without any physical embodiment themselves. Just like the gust of cool air from the refrigerator, emotional waves had a quality entirely their own. But this is growing more distant for me now, like sand running through fingers. I know they existed. I remember them being such an important part of life. I can still recall evidence of them in my thoughts and behaviors, but the emotions themselves, if they were real at all, they must have been incredible.
Thank you all. I hope we see you at the coffee hour, and the chalice will be extinguished now. Goodbye.
How I see the wind bending the grass like a wave, or how I see the wind bending the grass like a wave, or the sea. How I love the wind bending the grass like a